If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to Larry Zoom Hangout. Today is a one-on-one with Mr. Michael Riggs. And next week, though, Michael will be joining us again for another visit. But I wanted you all to get to meet Michael. Michael's going to talk a little bit about his journey into the fountain pen world and what got him started. And he has got to show you this one awesome, beautiful fountain pen that I don't care if you only collect $10,000, $20,000 pens. This pen should be in your collection. Why? Because it's unusual. It's not a common everyday pen. So with that said, Michael, welcome to the show. I'm going to turn it over to you, sir. It's all yours, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Larry. I don't quite know how to start, Larry. How would you like me to start? What do you want to know about pens?
How did you even start your journey into fountain pens? What made you start creating?
Okay. Well, I've always done woodworking ever since I was a teenager. We had woodworking tools in my garage at my parents' house, and I would make all kinds of boxes and stools and furniture of varying types. And I just like working with wood, So over the years, I would get woodworking catalogs and, where they sell supplies and tools. And always in the back of the catalog, there was a section on pen making. And it's all about the kit pens in these catalogs, And I would just quickly scroll through that and think, well, that kind of looks like a cheesy little hobby that, some old men do to get out of their wives' hair, Well, one day I took a good look in the mirror and I thought, well, no, maybe it's time. So I ordered some supplies and I started making pens, and I kind of liked it. I liked working on the lathe. I had never worked on a lathe before. And usually when I get into a hobby, I have different hobbies, but I jump in with both feet, So I bought the lathe and I bought whatever equipment I needed, everything. And lo and behold, I enjoyed it. And I started also using really good wood. I found a supplier that I can get beautiful exotic hardwoods with gorgeous grains and patterns and figure. And I started making kit pens. And I knew nothing about fountain pen folks or fountain pens. I knew nothing about it. It's just completely cold. No idea. All I knew was my kit pens. And a friend of mine was looking in the paper, and he saw that there was a fountain pen show on Long Island, where I live. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Only they just called it a pen show. I didn't realize it was a fountain pen show. So my wife and I went down there, and I took my kit pens and I had them in my case, and we're walking around the show. And the fellow that runs the show, I forget his name, but he saw I was walking around with a case. So he asked me, oh, are you a pen maker? And here I am. I'm so proud of myself with my kit pens. I said, oh, yes, I'm a pen maker. And he says, oh, let me see your pens. So I open up my case, and he goes, oh, they're kit pens. And I got a little indignant. And I'm like, yeah, they're kit pens. What's wrong with that? He says, no, you do beautiful work, and the wood you're using is the finest I've seen. But he says, this is a fountain pen show, and people want fountain pens. They don't want rollerball pens, and it really should be a pen that you design and make yourself from scratch. And he had this look on his face that he didn't believe that that would ever in a million years happen. And I took that look home with me, and I decided that night I'm going to prove him wrong, because I'm a little bit stubborn, you know, and I made it my mission to design a pen. And I actually, I went out to the garage and I started taking some notes and sketching some designs. And I actually have with me my very first attempt at a handmade fountain pen. I'm going to try to angle the camera so you can see it. But this is my very first shot at a fountain pen. And it was so bad that I don't even have a nib unit that fits in it, but you could already see the Riggs design from the very first pen taking shape. And this is it. This is number one.
Huh. Okay.
It's not terribly interesting, but I got to show you something, right? So anyway, I designed my own pen. And it went through several iterations. You know, you're not going to start out making a beautiful pen. There are going to be some problems with it. There are going to be some things that you can improve about it. So it went through several versions. And I have another example here. I was using brass for the threading originally.
Oh, that is pretty.
Well, brass, I thought, well, you know, because brass is high quality, what did I know? But if you can you hear that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Well, if you can hear it, it's kind of rattly, you know, it's just, I mean, it's solid and all, but it's really not.
Can you shake the pen? Yeah, shake it a little bit for me.
Well, I mean,
go ahead and twist the cap again. Yeah.
You hear that? No, you can't do that.
I can hear it.
So anyway, I didn't like that, and I decided I would need to do something about the threading. That was one issue. Another issue is you probably can't tell on camera here, but this is a number 5 nib, number 5 Yovo.
Okay.
And I knew nothing about fountain pens. I just thought the 5 looked nice. But if I was to learn later that most fountain pen enthusiasts prefer number 6. So I had to change my tooling and redesign the section. And then another thing that I had to remake was, okay, so if you notice, the male threads are on the body and the female threads are on the section. And by necessity, that means that the area where the female threads are is very, very thin. And it's not very strong at all. So I've had people that, you know, they bear down on it a little too tightly and they just crack the section, and I had to do something about that. So that's another improvement I've made over time. And I could show you that improvement so you can see what I've done. Let me just unscrew this section here. Okay. So now what I've done is I have I make a Delrin post that goes into the section. So where the section joins the threads, it's absolutely solid. It is rock solid. And the male threads are now on that post. And the male threads screw into what's now female threads on the body. And this is a very solid, very smooth connection. And now I use Delrin for all the threading. It's a very, very strong material. It's a type of plastic. It's a polymer, but it's self-lubricating. So it's very, very smooth operating. When you screw the cap on, it's just a pleasure. It just feels so nice. It just glides right on. So there's that. And I forgot where I was in the story. Does anyone remember where I was in the story? I was talking about okay, it's the guy at the pen shop.
Right.
So now, fortunately for me, I didn't know anything about fountain pens at all. So I had to go into my own head and think about what my idea of what a fountain pen should look like. And I'm thinking kind of old timey and kind of like a paintbrush. And I just designed a pen that looked the way I thought a pen should look. And I didn't have influence from any other manufacturers, which worked in my favor. I think if I had known a little something about fountain pens, or if I had gone online and looked at everyone else's designs out there, I would have been influenced by that. And I really didn't want to be influenced by anybody. I wanted this to be, an original design. So really, it was just coincidence that I came up with something unique. I didn't even understand how unique it was until I started posting them on Facebook, and I would get responses. And to my surprise, people would go on about, oh, they're so unique, they're so different, they're so beautiful. And it caught me totally by surprise. I had no idea. I mean, I guess it's getting difficult to come up with something unique because there's so many different kinds of pens out there. But by luck, I did. So I'm rather pleased about that. I like
Now,
how
Michael, let me stop you for a minute. Now, these pens, are they more high-end pens? If so, why? Is it the material that you're using that makes it more high-end? What? Because people
it's a combination of things. It's the craftsmanship of an individual pen. I regard each pen as a work of art, really, like you would a painting. Yes, it has a lot to do with the materials as well. Some of the wood pens, especially, I use some very, very rare woods, very rare and very beautiful. Other materials like the Fordite is also very rare, very beautiful, and very expensive. So there's that. But it's a combination of the rarity and the craftsmanship, and also the difficulty. Some woods turn very easily, and other woods are very brittle and problematic to work with. And like there's one wood in particular. Let me see if I have one here. Okay, I have an example. I was doing laminated pens, and I don't know if you can see here. Let me try to angle you a bit. I'm sorry about the lighting, Larry, but okay, basically.
You're fine, Michael.
Okay. Basically, there are layers of wood. There's a central layer, and then a framing layer, and then this outside layer. And there's a lot of labor involved with that. You have to glue up the blank. And before you even glue up the blank, you have to do a lot of calculating, what size the blank, each of the layers should be, so that you have just the right amount of wood exposed. So there's labor involved with that. But worse yet, these laminated blanks, a lot of the exotic woods are quite oily, and they don't like to stick together. I can get them to stick together, but they like to blow up on the lathe. So I'll blow up a couple of blanks before I actually get a finished pen out of it. And that's very discouraging because there's a lot of work that goes into making the pen before it even gets to the lathe. I have to do the machining on the acrylic parts. I have to fashion a section because it all fits together. So really, one of the final stages is actually the turning on the lathe. And if it blows up at that point, I already have like days worth of work invested in it. And, like they say, you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again.
A lot of work. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's why you don't see a lot of laminated pens and a lot of certain woods that are also problematic. I also like to use Spalted maple burl, which is a beautiful wood, but it has regions of very dense area and very soft and spongy area. So a lot of times that'll blow up on the lathe too, and same problem. You know, you have days invested and you have a disaster at the end. So those pens are always more expensive for that reason.
Now, Mike, while I'm still remembering this thought, I want to bring this up that we just talked about earlier. Now, folks, here I have Michael Riggs on. I've never, ever even heard of Michael. I've never
Not many have.
I've never even knew he made pens. So one day I was on Facebook and I was just looking, you know, through the different pen makers and all these beautiful pens and stuff. And then, God behold, this pen from the heavens, seriously, in my opinion, dropped out, and it was like game over. It was, I've never, for me now, I've never ever seen.
You were very kind in your praise, very kind.
Such a beautiful pen. It was something that, you know, for any pen enthusiast, pen collector, whoever you may be, and you don't have to agree with me, this is just my own opinion, that this pen was so beautiful. It's not your everyday pen you see. It's a very unique work of art. It just got to me. So that's how I met Michael. Bam! I went to Michael. You know, what is this? I saw, and you know, I'll let you finish the story, Mike.
Well, you and I, Larry, developed a friendship rather quickly. We instantly had a connection, and we shared a lot of personal stories with one another. But perhaps your viewers would like to see that pen.
I hope so.
Okay,
I know I like it.
Let's see what I can do here. I'm going to turn that camera. I can barely see it now myself, but can you see that?
Yeah, I can. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
Michael, it is just to die for, really.
Let me try to get a little better angle here. So this is the pen Larry's talking about.
And I think Dr. Joe might be interested in this, and Dr. McCartney. Hopefully it'll catch their eyes like it caught mine and Tony and the rest of the group that sees this pen. It's just a gorgeous fountain pen. Look at that, Mom. It's just beautiful. It's the kind of pen you don't see every day, okay? Not even close.
Fordite.
Okay, it's Fordite.
The section and finials are acrylic.
And he will go over Fordite with you after a while. Go ahead,
Sure.
Michael.
Sure.
Michael, what does a pen like that cost?
Currently, a pen exactly like this, well, no two are alike, so we can't say exactly like that. But they start at $850. Okay. Depending, not all Fordite is created equal, so I'll say that for now. So they start at $850 for the type of Fordite where you see the very like the loop patterns. It's sort of ordinary loop pattern. But watch this. There's also Fordite. Here's a piece of Fordite right here. You can see the layers. This is actually auto paint that was collected on the trolleys and the trays and the carts. It goes in and out of the oven. They reload more parts. They bake it. And it collects on the trays. And they have to clean the trays every once in a while. So they bust it off. And some enterprising auto workers decided that, oh, that looks like we could do something with that. So they make jewelry out of it. And some people make pens. But as I started to say, sometimes it's like bubbly and irregular. You can see like the surface here. Right. Well, that means that all the underlying layers are also wavy and convoluted. And you'd be surprised to learn that I calculated there are about 20 layers of paint per millimeter of thickness. So there's a lot of color variation in a very small space. And when you turn that on a round object, those irregular areas.
Yes, sir.
Look at that.
Look
Can
at
you-
this. That is gorgeous. For
Can you
real.
see that? And only about 10% of the Fordite has these irregularities that show this beautiful,
Look at
I
pretty,
call it psychedelic pattern.
look at that beautiful finish, that beautiful polish on it. It just gleams. It just screams at you. It just take me home. It's a one of a kind. Yes.
Well, Fordite, thing is, it's auto paint, and it's a peculiar material because it's brittle, but it's soft. And those sound like two contrasting, contradictory properties, but that really describes Fordite. So it's hard to work with. And I just had one of those senior moments we were talking about. I just totally lost my train of thought where
I do that all the time, so don't feel bad. People know me.
No, I don't feel bad. I'm too old to feel bad. I just keep it moving.
That's what I do.
Okay, so the irregularities that show up and they create these beautiful psychedelic patterns. There's only about 10% of the Fordite that they have has those irregularities. So naturally, the price is higher for those. Those start at $9.25. But again, it's one of those materials where I can get partway through turning it and it decides it doesn't want to be turned and blows up.
Oh, here we go again. So real quick, I'm going to stop you again. Now let's talk about the most important part of a pen, the heart of the pen. Because like I've said, and I'll say it before, you can have the most beautifulest pen in the world, and it could cost $1 million, $2 million, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if that nib, which is the heart of the pen, the PowerPoint of the pen, not a good nib, and in my opinion, that whole pen to me is worthless because I can't use it. So what kind of nibs do you use, brands, sizes, and do you offer?
Well, I'll comment on what you just said, only I'll flip it in reverse. If you have a very good nib and nib unit and converter, you could stick that whole thing in a potato and it'll write beautifully. So I designed my pen around the nib unit. I didn't design the pen first and find a nib unit to go in it. I did a little research and looked for a nib unit that was number one, available, and number two, well respected in the pen community. I had to do that because I knew nothing about fountain pens. So I had to rely on what was popular and what was quality. And I use Yovo number 6 nibs. And the basic pen comes with a steel nib. And that could be either polished steel, plain polished steel, or gold plated. So I do have some two-tone gold plated, which goes really nice with some of the different woods and the Fordite. But I also use Yovo gold nibs. I have 14 karat and 18 karat available.
And how much would it be with a upgrade for the 14 and 18?
The upgrade is $140. Which is my cost. I don't make any money selling gold nibs. It's just what it costs.
Okay, that's the 14 and 18. Are they both different prices?
No.
Okay.
No. For some reason, my supplier, he charges the same price for either, and he has the whole range of point sizes as well, from extra fine through broad.
Well, right there, yeah, for me, God willing, when I'm able to get one of these beautiful work of arts, I would have to go nib. End of story. It just, I mean, you already bit the pie, so you want to get the whole crust with that pie. So for me, I'd put that beautiful gold nib on this gorgeous, beautiful fountain pen, and then die and go to heaven with God. There.
Yeah, well, I find that about 3/4 of the folks who buy the Fordite pens opt for the gold nib.
So,
Not everyone is wealthy, and a lot of folks, it's really a reach for them. And I'm always humbled, people that, are right on the edge of being able to afford it, but they push themselves that little extra, and the best they can do is a steel nib. And I tell you what, the steel nibs write beautifully.
and you know what? I agree with you 100,000%. I've been in that situation reviewing pens, and uh, I I've had some very very nice steel nib that wrote just as nice as a gold nib. Of
Mhm.
course, people didn't believe me. There's just no way. Well, when I review a pen, I'm going to tell you the God's truth. I don't try to dog anybody, make them look bad, but it's I'm the one who's telling my viewers and my friends out there what I think of a pen, and I don't want to mislead anybody.
Sure.
So I tell them the truth. Now, if a pen is so bad that it can't be reviewed, I won't even review it. I will get in touch with the maker and let them know this is what I found, and
Mhm.
give you some heads up, and let you correct all that I found before I review it. Because if I review it, it's not going to go well. Yep.
Sure.
So okay. So then,
Well, that's one of
the sizes. Are you going to offer number 5, a number 6, and then what size? Extra fine, fine, medium, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have extra fine through broad, and depending on availability, I even have the 1.1 millimeter stub and 1.5 millimeter stub available.
How about
I
broad?
generally don't keep them in stock, but it's only a couple of days before I can order it, and they'll have it to me shortly. On a custom pen, uh, it's not a problem because you order the pen and I order the nib right away. And by the time I'm ready to fit the pen and the nib together, it's arrived in the mail. So it all works out pretty well.
And I'm sorry, did you say you had broad as well? Broad nib?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So it would be extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and then the 2 stub nib sizes as well.
Now, what if somebody wanted a Bach nib? Can you accommodate that as well?
A what nib?
Nib.
A Bach nib?
Yeah.
No, mine are all Yovo.
Oh, yellow. Okay. So
Yeah. So it's actually a Yovo nib inside the Yovo nib unit.
okay.
And
All right.
honestly, I'm not sure if a Bach nib would be interchangeable. Perhaps you could
No.
just interchange the nib itself.
On a Bach nib, you have to have your own nib unit to fit the
Yeah.
Bach nib. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we
Yeah.
got past that. So now, how long would it take for you to make a pen? They order. Let's say they want that pen that you just showed. Do you have availability in stock now, or you have to make it? If so, how long?
I have about, what am I looking at here? Probably 15 wood pens in stock. And I'm looking at 4 Fordite pens in stock. And I'm accumulating them all the time. They take me about, well, I have a day job. I work as a lab technician in a cancer research laboratory. So I'm busy 8 hours a day. Then I have an hour-long commute to get home. And I usually work about 2 hours in the evening on pens.
Let me stop you again. And you just hit a magic word, and the kind of work that you're doing as a lab tech in a cancer research place is something that we need. So many friends and acquaintances and just people are suffering at this moment and dying, and the children from cancer, and it just has to be something that the humans can do besides all this fighting and fussing, and to actually help people. So thank you for your services, Michael.
Well, my pleasure. I'm just one of the I'm just one of the grunts that does the handwork. I'm not the big brain involved.
Your heart's in the right area. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's another reason I got into making pens. Lab technicians don't make a lot of money. I'm not a wealthy fella by any means. I never was. Never really concerned myself about it. I'm a simple man with simple needs. I got a beautiful family. I have a roof over my head. I have plenty to eat and nothing in the bank. Which is changing a little bit now. At least it started to change, especially with the Fordite pens. I've been very fortunate. I've sold several, more than several.
And you will see a major change, Michael. You will see more and more. You will
Well,
see
that
this.
would be nice. But then I have three daughters. One of them is getting married in June. So I ended up giving her pretty much all my money.
Well, so much for any upcoming money. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm having fun, right?
That's what it's all about, having fun. Yes, yes.
And
It
you
goes
know
from
what
one
else?
hand to the other, just like that.
You know what it is more than just having fun and making money. I like the pleasure I get from people enjoying my work. It's such an honor for people to, grab hold of one of my pens and, write to me and let me know that, it's such a joy to use and it's so beautiful and they just love it. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's not about the money or anything else. It's about making somebody happy,
And that's a good point you brought up, because seriously, and I'm sure that there's many other pen makers like yourself that are in it to bring joy, to bring some kind of unique feeling to the individual that buys these fountain
Sure.
pens. Because the money, yeah, they need it. It helps them pay the bills, meet the bills, but it's their heart and soul that have gotten together because they wanted to make something, a piece of them to give to someone else. So when you pick up
Right.
that pen, I'm using my pen.
Well, I tell you what, when I first started making pens, the kit pens, I was selling them to family and friends and for like $20, $30, maybe 40. Then I started making fountain pens and I was only charging like $75. I thought $100 was like out of sight money for something that I made, and I went to my first fountain pen show as an exhibitor, and I met Ryan Krusak. Yeah, he's a great fellow, and he's been kind of a mentor to me. He gave me a lot of really good advice, and he offered to come see my pens. So lo and behold, second day of the show, he shows up at my table, and he takes a close look at my pens, and he asked me what I was charging for them. And at that point, I hadn't even sold many pens at the show. And I told him, well, I'm charging $175. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm charging too much. And he said, Mike, you're doing as good a work as anyone here at this show. He says, you should be charging between $250 and $350. And my mouth fell open. I couldn't believe what he was telling me. And I thought, no, he's got to be out of his mind. I mean, no one's going to pay that much money for something that I made, but this was the end of the day, Saturday. So Sunday, the following morning, I took his advice, and the first person that asked me how much the pen cost, I said $250, and boom, they bought it just like that. And then the next person came up and asked how much, I said $250, and they bought one just like that. And then another fella bought two of them for $250 each. So I thought, maybe this Ryan is onto something. Maybe he knows what he's talking about. So I was as surprised as anybody to find out how much the pens are actually worth. But I do put my heart and soul into them. And there's a fair amount of artistry that goes into it. I don't just randomly put together wood and acrylic. There's a lot of thought that goes into the selection of colors and styles, and how it all fits together.
So, do you buy your own blanks or do you pour your own blanks?
Well, obviously, no. Actually, for the acrylic, I buy acrylic rod. So it's not really blanks per se, but I buy like 1/2 meter rods, and
Right.
I machine it myself. I have used acrylic blanks, but it's not genuine acrylic. All of the smaller blanks that people call, blanks, they're epoxy resin, and they can yellow over time, and they're not as strong as acrylic. Acrylic is an extremely strong material. It's brittle, but it's strong, and I prefer it. So I really don't use blanks. I buy genuine acrylic rod. And fortunately, I've been able to find, for a couple of years, there was really a limited number of places I could get acrylic rod from, at least of the type that I wanted, the quality that I needed. But then all of a sudden, there are other manufacturers coming up who sell some beautiful, beautiful acrylic in different styles and patterns and colors. And I'm having fun now, because now I have a new color palette. Is something else to explore. I try to keep it fresh. I try to do new stuff all the time, but there's not a lot of options for changing things up on a pen.
I was going to ask, do you stay busy?
Yeah, I stay busy regardless of whether I have orders. About a month and a half ago, well, let's say 2 months ago, when I first started making Fortnite pens, I posted the first one, and it was sold before I even finished it, because I posted it in progress. And then the second one, same thing. And next thing I know, I'm getting people contacting me, and I had never even had a wait list before. This is something brand new to me. So I actually had about 6 people on a waiting list, and I did the best I could. It took me about a month and a half to clear up the wait list, and then things sort of tapered off a bit.
So let me stop you for a minute. I apologize.
Okay.
People, if you're seeing this video right now and you're hearing the story that Michael is sharing with us about this pen, particularly this pen, and if you're like me and you say, well, you know what, this is the pen that I gotta have, I must have. So if you order this pen, be sure to check with Michael. There could be a waiting period for it. I know some pen makers are booked anywhere from 6 months to a year, seriously, making pens. So, and then I'm going to ask Michael here in a minute, is there a deposit for that? And if it's refundable or not? Because let's say that you want a pen like this, you call Michael, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, it's going to take me 8 months to get a pen on book. I can't get any faster. And you say, okay. And Michael asks you for, well, there's an upfront deposit, which is normal. Everyone that I know of asks for a deposit up front, and that's non-refundable. And that's because if you change your mind, this or that, Michael's already have you on a waiting list. And then when it gets to your pen, well, I don't want it. So I don't know how my policy works, so we're going to find out right now from Michael.
Well, fortunately for anyone interested, there is no waiting list right now.
That's
waiting
now.
list is cleared up. You order a pen today, and I'll have it for you probably looking at 7 days.
Oh!
Yeah, so that's all good. And even better than that, if you want to order from one in stock, you can have it in 3 days in your hand. So I do charge for shipping, because I don't sell enough pens to have any deal with a shipper. So, and cost of everything is going up,
Yeah,
that.
it has.
So it usually costs about $20 to $25 to ship from New York here. I can send it to Wyoming for a little over $20. The West Coast, if you're on the West Coast, that's going to be a little more. So it's pricey.
How
But
about
I only use
out of the
UPS.
US? How about out of the country? Do you do that as well?
I have.
Would be nice.
I've shipped to Hong Kong because they have very loose customs, and the shipping there, the trade is very open and free there. But that's really the only other country I've shipped to, because I really didn't want to get involved with overseas shipping. It's very expensive. The fellow from Hong Kong, near as I could tell, has got to be wealthy, because shipping for his pen was $130, and he didn't even flinch, you know. So
Well, the reason why I asked, because I have viewers that will ask me, and I'm sure I'll get some comments about asking about this, mostly from India, the UK, Australia, I think Spain, Germany, Italy, and there is one more other place that will ask if you would ship to those areas. So that's why I'm going to just ask you now. And I don't know. It depends on the mail as well.
well, India may be a problem, but European countries and Australia, I don't think I'd have a problem. I mean, at present, I have not yet sent pens there. And because of my reluctance, I have turned away business from people who have asked, but I can't keep doing that forever. So at some point, I'm just going to have to get over my qualms and see how it goes shipping one. But I can't make any promises as to the cost. The customer will bear the cost. So if you feel it's worth it, you know, if you want to roll the dice,
Yeah.
I'll give it a go. I mean, I didn't get to where I am with pen making by being too timid. You know, I had to take chances at some point.
Everybody's different, Michael, with their reasons, and I can agree with it. There's some people that they don't charge any shipping and handling. Well, you know, that's pretty good, but that has to come out of that little kitty that where they made the pen, and everything involved is costly. That comes out. But you know, then when you start shipping it overseas, that can be costly at times, depending where you're sending. So I think it's a win-win. I mean, if for me, if even if I bought a pen here and the person said, "Well, Larry, I have to charge for shipping and handling," okay, I can understand that. Yep, because that's money out of your pocket still.
Sure. Now, you asked about a deposit. I don't ask for a deposit. It's a gentleman's agreement, or a lady and gentleman's agreement, if you will. And if you say you're going to order a pen from me, you get on the waiting list. I start the pen. We get a dialogue going. And if at some point you change your mind, you don't want the pen, I still have the pen. So I just put it in the inventory, and I have something to sell at the next show. So it's really not a loss for me. So who knows what problems people have? They could have financial difficulties that come up unexpectedly, and to have to lose their deposit, that's just not the way I do business. You know, it's for me, it's not necessary.
Okay. All right.
Because I don't lose anything either way. And in fact, recently a fellow had ordered an expensive pen for me, a Fordite pen, and I made him the pen, and I didn't hear anything back from him. He wasn't responding to my emails, and somebody else wanted the pen, and I gave him like a week to respond after repeated contacts, and I ended up selling the pen to someone else. And he finally got in touch with me, and he was very apologetic. He was just busy at work. But he also said that, you know, actually my financial situation had changed, and it's better that I had sold the pen. So it all worked out.
Okay. So again, name all the materials you use to make a pen, the resins type. Just kind of go over that one more time.
Okay, so we have the wood pens. Obviously, the body and the cap are wood. Let's get one out here to show you. Okay, here's a more or less standard wood pen. This is Spalted red oak. Let me see if I can angle that a little better for you. Yeah, Spalted red oak. And so that's obviously wood. Now the section and the finials are acrylic, genuine acrylic. These threading is Delrin. Within the body is a brass rod. So the body is cemented onto a brass rod, and the threading is added later, which is Delrin. The cap, you probably can't see it in the picture, but the cap is not built on a brass rod. The cap is built on a Delrin tube, which is very strong, very light. And the acrylic is, what do I want to say about the acrylic? Well, what can you say about acrylic? It's acrylic. It's strong, it's beautiful, it comes in a variety of colors. The bands. This is a characteristic of all my pens. They all follow the same format, okay? So we have acrylic, 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 and it's framed by these bands.
I love the bands, and yeah, I really like it. I think that gives the pen a personality. It really looks nice.
Yeah, that's kind of my trademark. I rather like it myself, and personally, I wouldn't make a pen without it. It's
Now, how about your clips? Now, that's another one when you talk about clip time.
Clip time. Oh, geez. Clips were a whole controversy that I put out there to the Facebook community, because I had people telling me, oh, why don't you put a clip on your pens? Then I had other people telling me, oh, you don't need a clip on your pens. Don't worry about the clip.
I'm a clip guy, but yeah, go ahead.
So the truth is, the reason my pens originally did not have a clip was because I hadn't figured out how to do that. I hadn't figured out how to make a pen with a clip. That's the plain truth right there. The other part of that truth is I didn't know where or how to get clips. You know, as an individual pen maker, I can't order, 5,000 pieces. So, I mean, that was an impossibility. So I would have to make the clip myself. And I felt that the pens were too pretty, too nice to have like some sort of a cheesy homemade clip. And it just would have added to the time it took to make a pen, and necessarily the cost, the final price of the pen. So for a long time, I did without the clip. And then I found a source for a suitable clip, the style that I use now. And can you see it okay? You can see it on Facebook.
Yeah. There you go. I can see it really good. There you go. Yeah.
All right. Now, do you want me to be completely honest with you, Larry, or you want me to hold on to some secrets?
Hold some secrets.
Okay.
For now, you can share that at our next meetup.
Okay.
Keep everybody.
I'll just say this: the source that I use for clips is not an uncommon source, but they are high quality clips. They are precious metal plated on brass, and it's a very heavy jewelry grade coating, plating. So I feel very satisfied with the quality of the clip, especially in particular the rhodium plated, because rhodium is a nice durable material, much more so than the gold.
But folks, he will share the secret when he comes back next week, God willing. So this is just a warm up for Michael, so everybody can get ready for Michael, because Michael has so much to share with all y'all. So continue, Michael.
What was I talking about?
Okay, about the clip, and it's a secret, and the rhodium and blah blah blah. So that's
Okay. So I figured out how to attach the clips to the pen. So now, okay, here we are. Here's another one.
Oh, look at that one.
Oh, you want to see that one?
Oh, yes, sir. Look at
Yes.
that. Oh.
This one is
Oh.
figured myrtle. And I don't know, I'll figure out the lighting better for next week. But
Beautiful.
when you turn this pen in light, you can see the bands of figure. They kind of move back and forth. It's really cool when you see it under the light. But that's one of the things I love about myrtle, the figured myrtle.
Now, what kind of price does that pen have on it?
This one is $375.
Wow. Okay. Why is that? The material?
It's the material. The wood is the wood pens are generally less expensive than the Fordite. The Fordite is a costly material, and it's very difficult to work with. And the main reason Fordite is so expensive, I would say, it's the demand. Very, very few pen makers are using Fordite. I'm the only one that I know of that's making bespoke pens out of Fordite. I understand there's another fella out there, but most of the Fordite pens are kit pens, which most of you folks wouldn't be interested in. And the few bespoke pens that are out there, all right, I'm going to be immodest here. I like mine better. I think they're a more beautiful pen. You know, they have, one of the reasons my Fordite pens are pretty is because the way you get the different patterning going on has to do with the pen having a contour. The Fordite layers are exposed over that contour, but a lot of the kit pens, they're just turned straight. So really, you don't get these beautiful loops. What you get is stripes, and it's just, the beauty just isn't there. So that's one of the reasons the Fordite pens are so expensive.
Oh, that's a beautiful
demand.
blue. You know, a great price. So people, if you can't afford the 8 or 9, he's got one right there that's, I think, affordable.
Absolutely. And this is another thing that solved the clip controversy. The way the clip goes on,
right,
the finial comes off the end.
Right off the top.
Okay. Yep. And you replace this. Now, the way the pen is constructed, I apply a 6 very, very heavy coats of cyanoacrylate, which is basically liquid acrylic. That goes over the whole cap, with the exception of the finial. Okay, we'll take the finial off. This whole thing, even this part, even this acrylic part here, is coated with acrylic. So I put the very heavy, thick coat of acrylic on, then I screw the finial back on, and now the whole thing gets mounted on the lathe, and this is spinning, and I sand the whole thing level with the finial in place. I bring it through the different grits of sandpaper and polish so that the finial and the body are like one contiguous unit. It's seamless and flawless and flush. So if you like the cap, you put the cap on it. If you don't like the cap, take the cap off. You got the best of both worlds.
Yes, right. That is pretty cool. And you offer, they can still upgrade with the gold nib if they care to, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful. So now, Mike, do you have a website that they can go to and look and order? So how do they find you? How do they order? Tell all that kind of stuff.
Okay, here's the deal with the website. It's very cumbersome to keep up with. I started the website about 2 years ago, and it's not set up to order through the website. It's just not set up that way. It's mainly set up as a gallery. And then, you know, between the day job and making pens, I don't have time to keep up with the website. So there are a lot of pens there. There's a good representation of my work, but I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't keep up with it. So if you did want to go to the website just to see what I've done in the past and, just take a look and get a general idea of my work, it's rigspremiumpens.com.
Okay.
So it's just like my name, Riggs Premium Pens, all one word, .com.
So remember that's how you can find out. Okay.
Okay. So, but primarily I do, I exhibit all of my latest work on Facebook. I used to do Instagram, but that became too much of a pain in the neck too. So
Yeah,
I just stick to one platform, and that's it. People that find me, find me. People that don't find me, I don't care. So you'll find me one way or another. Okay, but my Facebook page is at Riggs Pens 33. At Riggs Pens 33.
Hold on, we got a question for you.
You said at. You mean to say something other than Facebook?
Pardon me?
You said that was your Facebook address, but it started with an at. Should that not be Twitter or Instagram or something?
No. As far as I know, the Facebook address starts with an at.
Yes.
Does it not? It's my business page. Maybe
Okay,
that's
I'll check
the
on it.
difference.
Okay.
It's not my profile. That's my business page.
Okay.
So that starts with an at. I do have a profile, and the business page and my profile page, they mirror each other. They're exactly the same. I don't put any personal stuff on there. The only personal stuff you'll find on my Facebook accounts is what I post along with my pens. Sometimes I include some personal stories because I regard people that follow me or look for my work, I regard them all as friends, I'm not talking about Facebook friends.
Right.
I enjoy meeting people, and I enjoy developing friendships that way. So anyway, you can go to either my profile, which is Michael W. Riggs, or my business page, either one. Same thing. There was something else you had asked. I'm trying to think what it was, but we had skipped over a topic that I wanted to get to, but it'll come up again, I'm sure.
Okay. And it's my fault. I'm sorry. There's just so many things running through my head. I apologize for interrupting.
I'm the same way. I get on tangents, and I get off the beaten path in my mind, and it's hard to get back sometimes.
So I sent you a message down there. Were you able to read it and give your thoughts? Just if you'd like to elaborate on that, you can. If not, we can just skip over that.
I don't see the question.
Okay, it's right to you under chat.
Okay, let me look at it. Let me click on it. Have you thought of a discount? That's a tricky question.
Well, you can give it some thought, and later you can elaborate later.
Offhand, I'd say no.
Okay.
That's not to say that I haven't given discounts.
So yes and no. Yeah.
It's a yes and no. Sometimes for example, I had one pen recently that it didn't come out quite the way I would have liked, So I offered a discount. In fact, I offered, it was like $200 off a 4-night pen. And it was like first come, first serve. Whoever wants it can buy it. And a fella contacted me, and he said, I've been following your work, and I really love it. And, I don't know how much you're asking for this pen, but, I can't really afford much. And he told me he was a veteran, and he told me that he was disabled, and he just loves to write. And I ended up selling him the pen at cost, which was basically $600 off. So, sometimes you get a discount. Most often you don't. I think I charge a fair price. And it's hard because I'm not a manufacturer. I don't make 20
Right.
pens at a time. It
Right,
takes
right.
me a week of working after work to make one pen, and it's a lot of effort. So I just charge a fair price, and I give back in other ways, you know.
So again, how long have you been making pens? And if I've asked this question before, I forgot. I'm sorry. And what made you get into making pens?
Uh, well, we started that well, I don't know. We talked about this earlier.
Yes, yes, but not
I
recording. Yeah.
I turned my first pen, which was a kit pen, about 2.5 years ago. That recently. Um, the way it started was I've always done woodworking all my life, ever since I was a teenager. So I've enjoyed the hobby. And I would get a lot of woodworking catalogs, for tools and supplies and things like that. And always in the back of the catalog, there was a section about pen making. And I always just, skipped over that section because I had no interest in pen making. That seemed like a silly hobby that old men do to stay out of the old lady's hair when they're retired. And so I never paid much attention to it until one day I looked in the mirror at this old man staring back at me, and I thought, maybe it's time I give that pen making a try. So I ordered the supplies I needed and bought a lathe. I didn't even own a lathe. And turns out I enjoyed it. I started making the kit pens. And so I was making the kit pens, but I was doing pretty well with the wood. I found a supplier that sold really exotic and beautiful woods. So although they were kit pens, they were a little bit cut above because I was really using some gorgeous wood. And a friend of mine had told me about a pen show that was taking place, not far from where I live. And I had never even heard of a pen show before. I didn't know what he was talking about, but it was close by, so I decided to go. So I thought, well, if I'm going to a pen show, I might as well bring some of my pens with me. So I packed up my case and I go to the pen show, and it turns out the fella that was running the show, he saw me walking around with my case. So he asked me if I was a pen maker. Now, I had only been turning pens for a few months, but I said, oh yeah, I'm a pen maker, sure. He says, oh, wonderful. May I see your pens? So I opened up the case, and his face just fell. He had this look on his face.
Right.
Oh, kit pens. I see. And I got very indignant. I'm like, yeah, the kit pens. What about it? He said, well, this is a fountain pen show. People here aren't interested in rollerball pens. They're interested in fountain pens, and they're looking for something. He says, you're going to have to design your own pen, and it should be a handmade pen, and it should be a fountain pen. He says, you go home and do that, and you come back to the show, and I'd love to see your work. And I could just tell by the look on his face, he never thought that would happen in a million years. And I was telling Larry earlier that I took that look home with me, and that was going to be my motivation. And that very day, I took pencil to paper, got out my calipers and my steel rule, and I started designing a pen and formulating one in my head. And it was just a few months after that I had turned my first fountain pen. And of course, there were several iterations since, with improvements and style changes. But I developed my own pen, and it turns out it was well received, and I was very pleased about that. I didn't go into looking at what any other pen makers were doing. I was only concerned about the pen that I had in my own head. I wanted to think about, what does a pen look like? What does a pen look like? And I went into my imagination, and I thought about, well, this is what a pen looks like. And I started drawing it out. And fortunately, it wasn't like anything that any other pen makers were doing. And I'm glad for that, because I wouldn't want anyone to think that I was copying someone else's work. I was pleased that I was able to come up with an original design. And the reason that happened was because I wasn't influenced by having seen any other fountain pens, you know. So the design is very original, and I'm fortunate for that, because I don't think it would have been very well received if it turns out to look like a Mont Blanc or some other manufacturer's pen. That would have been pretty disappointing.
Yes, yes, yes. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your pens, the quality of the pens, anything unique or different you like to say that makes you a separate unity from the rest of the group of pen makers? Are you in the same kind of group, or you consider yourself, well, I'm me because I make pens the way I like seeing them, or like having them, or like using them? What?
Well, that pretty much sums it up in a nutshell, Larry. My pens are what I like to see in a pen. It's an artistic creation. It's like for me, it's like a painting. It's not really a pen at all to me. It's a thing of it's an artistic creation that you can write with. And being that it's built on the Yovo nib unit, it does a lot better than just being able to write with it. But for me, first and foremost, it's a work of art. So I regard each pen as an art piece, and I treat it as such. They're designed as such. There's careful selection goes into the pairing of what style, what color acrylic should go with which type of wood. And the palette is endless, because there are so many different species of wood that I can use, and such a variety of acrylic, and the different combinations of the colors of bands that I use. I can honestly say that no two pens of mine are alike. You have the individuality that nature provides, because no two pieces of wood are alike, and combine that with all the various color combinations with the finials and section acrylic. I could go on a good long time and not make the same pen twice. I have been asked to make the same pen twice, though. I have to apologize to you viewers. I have some sort of a little allergy or something going on, but I'm getting this post-nasal drip.
Yeah, Mr. Announcer has it too. Yeah, it goes around. So I want to ask you again, and you probably don't have it, but by chance, do you have any pens that you've already made and selling that you can just show real quick, or we can save that for another time?
Well, I do, Larry, but I'm having trouble, like, with the lighting and all.
Well, that's fine. Just give them a working idea.
Let me see what I can do for you here. If I can try. I was getting a lot of glare. Okay, so let's see how this one looks. Oh, maybe that looks better than it did before. But
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's the one.
Can you see the bands moving?
I can.
Good, because that's what I want you to see. That's absolutely gorgeous. And that's the figured myrtle again. So that's one. Now this one is interesting. This one is spalted white birch. And this gives me the opportunity to tell you what spalting is.
That's
Spalting are if you've all seen white birch. White birch is very unremarkable. There's nothing going on in white birch. It is just white with very plain, ordinary looking grain. But you notice this wood has all these little black areas here with lines running through it. These black lines are called spalting. And the way that happens is when a tree is either infected by fungus on a live tree, or it begins the process of decay when it falls on the forest floor. The first step in a decay process is invasion by fungus. So the fungus gets on the outside of the wood and it begins to eat its way in. And there are so many different varieties of fungus and species of fungus that you'll have one fungus coming in from this way, one coming in from that way, another coming in from another way. And wherever these colonies of fungus meet, there's like a little barrier and there's a little war that goes on for nutrients, and they produce toxins to try to kill the other colony. And those toxins produce these black lines. And they're absolutely beautiful on the finished pen. And this is highly prized in woodworking. And this particular piece of spalted white birch, I was on a trip to New Hampshire and I was visiting a childhood friend that I hadn't seen in 50 years. And we caught up with each other. We were totally out of touch for 50 years. I couldn't even find her if I wanted to, but through Facebook, somehow she found me, and my wife and I visited, she and her husband, and I was telling her all about my pens. And since we were up in the woods in New Hampshire, we took a little walk around, and I spotted this piece of spalted white birch, brought it home, and made several pens out of it. Just sold one a couple of weeks ago. This is another one. I think I only had enough to make 3 nice pens from that piece of birch. So there's that. And let's see what else we have here that I could show you. Okay, this one's nice. This one is Redwood Burl. And I love Redwood Burl. It has such a beautiful color. It reminds me kind of the orange cat color, like a Garfield color.
Okay.
And we can open this up. And this one has nice iridescent cherry acrylic. So there's
now that one doesn't have a clip. Did they come with some kind of stopper?
Yes, it has a roll stop on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
The roll stop is actually my logo, and this came about by someone at a pen show. Someone who stopped by my table was asking, how do I know it's one of your pens? And I said I didn't have an answer for them because I didn't have a roll stop on my pens at that time. It was just a plain straight pen. And I said, I'm trying to think of some way to add branding that doesn't look gaudy or out of place, right, or, something with a little style to it. And he suggested, well, how about a logo? Do you have a logo? And at that point, I didn't even have a logo. He said, but, if you put your logo on a roll stop, and this is how little I knew about fountain pens. I was like, a roll stop? What's a roll stop? He says, well, it's just like it says, it's to keep your pen from rolling off the table. He says it would just have to be a little bump that sticks out. So I started, I ordered these logos. I designed a logo, and I had a lapel pin company make the, can you see that? A lapel pin company make it up. So I just ordered lapel pins without the stick pin on back. And that's the roll stop.
And I'm not big on roll stop pins. I've always been the clip guy, but that doesn't mean I don't have any, because I do use them, but I just don't carry them with me because I clip them in my shirt if I don't use a pin case. But let me tell you, this pen that you have here, it's such a good looking, dignified, just on the spot pen that I'd have to carry that in a pen case to use it. It just looks magnificent. Colors, stop on it, your logo. It just makes it all come together. It just
Yeah.
makes it really just professional. You can take it to meetings, executive meetings, where even students. It'll fit all
Sure.
kinds of occasions. Good job on that. Good job, Mike.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's see. Do you want to? Here's another one.
Yeah, please.
This one is a black and white ebony, and this one's kind of cool because it has kind of like an arrow pattern.
Beautiful.
That's in the spalt. It's not spalting actually. This is the natural color of black and white ebony. It forms these stripes and lines. It's very pretty. What else do we have to show you? Oh, okay. Here's a good example. I can also do laser engraving.
Oh, very good. You can do laser engraving.
Yes.
Awesome.
So the laser engraving is on the wood and it's under the clear coat.
I'll be darned.
So I want to mention that the clear coat is actually 6 really thick layers of acrylic. And when I first apply it, it's ugly. It's bumpy, it's uneven, but it's very, very thick. So while it's on the lathe, I have to bring it down from coarse sandpaper through the various grits. So what you see almost looks like glass or water, but it's actually a very thick coating of acrylic. It's not like a lot of fellas use on their kit pens.
So hold that thought right there. So you do engraving, you can put initials in a pen. On any pen, or only on certain pens can you do this?
I can do this on, I just learned this on any pen I currently make. I only recently found out I can do it on Fordite. I was hesitant to try it, but I did. And so now I actually include my own name, Riggs, on the Fordite pens. It's very tasteful, very small.
Okay, very nice.
I identify it as one of mine.
Now, do you charge extra for engraving?
No,
All right. A lot of people do, but okay.
I think I'd be in my rights to do it, but you know, you want to add value to your pen? No, I'll do it for nothing. Because you remember, the whole idea is to make people happy.
Yes.
So I want to keep the cost down. I don't want it to have to cost extra if you want that.
Any other pens you'd like to show right now? Or do you want to save that for later?
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we save that for later, because
Okay.
I don't have an awful lot in stock, and we got to
Fine.
save some surprises for next week.
All right. Well, folks, I think with that said, we're going to say adios here in a second. And but again, I want to thank Michael for coming on my Zoom Hangout. And this is what I've created my Zoom for people like Mike and other manufacturers to come on to share their love and interest and show the people what they made or what they're selling, or even dealers like Lamy and Pilot, whoever would like to come on to show people upcoming new pens. So with that said, Michael, I will get back to you probably tomorrow so we can get a date set up for God willing next week, because I want you back, and it's going to be an open room when Mike comes back. This one has been closed. I have time to time, I like to close my room so the guests and I can feel comfortable in knowing what we're doing.
Sure.
Because I'm all over the place and they won't know. Larry, settle down, come back to earth. My gosh, you're over here. Yes, that's how I am. But okay, Mike, anything you want to say before I say adios?
Well, I'm looking forward to next week. I love meeting people,
You're going to meet them.
Oh, I remember what we wanted to talk about. You asked how they order a pen.
Yes.
There's no automated ordering system. What you do is you contact me by email. If you see a pen that you like on my Facebook page or on my website, you just email me and say, look, I'm interested in this pen. How much is it? Or hey, I want to order a pen, and then we'll get a little dialogue going, and I'll quote you a price. And if it's a pen in stock, I'll send you a PayPal invoice. You pay the invoice, pen's in the mail the next day.
As easy as that. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, easy as that.
All right, now, folks. Well, again, stay in there, stay in tune, because Michael is coming back, and this is something that I think y'all are going to get into. I know y'all get into all of them, but I think every guest I have on picks up different viewpoints, aspects, and of their creation, and they bring something to the table. Everybody that I bring, I believe, brings something to the table, and that table just adds up more and more. And that table is built on all these individual pen makers, the people that come on, even dealers who sell pens. Everybody has their own thing that they bring to the table, and that's what makes it so special. And this is why I created this special Zoom guest, because at the time nobody was doing this. So I said, you know what? And I wanted to help out during COVID as well, bring people together, for people
Sure.
can, get together and get rid of some of that frustration, being locked up, cooped up all the time, and not be able to go to pen shows, meet pen people, pen club meetings, etc. So with that said, Michael, I want to thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry, for having me. I really appreciate the invite.
All right,
It's a
so
pleasure talking with you.
thank you, and I will get back to you, so don't go away.
Okay.
Bye, Mike. And folks, thank you for joining me and my special guest, Michael, and we'll be seeing you soon. God bless. Have a great day and be safe out there.
Bless you.